Hello, long time no see. So I've been a nomad for almost 2 years now, and I have so many stories to tell with no one to tell. So I thought, what's a better place to share them all than the World Wide Web? This story time will be about Leo and I's supernatural experience. Leo and I were staying at an Airbnb somewhere up in northern Indiana, and I was looking for parks in the area where I could walk Leo. And Leo, he's a little bit reactive, so I try to find places that are quiet and places that he can just kind of roam off leash, and I can trust that there's not going to be other dogs or other people on these trails. And I found this really cute preserve, and there's trails in this preserve in the woods. And this was around the fall time, winter time, so a lot of the trees had lost their leaves already. It was pretty gray and brown already. And the first time we went to this woodsy trail, it was nice, it was beautiful. We watched the sunset through the trees, it was beautiful. And then we went back again another day, but this is where it got interesting. So that whole day, I was really feeling paranoid. There was just a lot of inner turmoil coming up, and a lot of things were coming up to be healed. And I was just really antsy all day. But I was okay, I've been cooped up all day. Let's go walk the dog, right? And I put Leo in the car, and it was interesting because Leo was wanting to go on a WALK. I'm surprised he didn't react when I said the first time, but he got in the car and he was really antsy too. And I noticed with Leo, because I travel with him full time, that a lot of times he mirrors my energy. And I was reasoning with myself, telling myself there's nothing to be afraid of. We went to this park before, there's nothing to be afraid of, because I was starting to get visions of getting lost in the woods or getting unalived in the woods. And it's just that's just kind of the thoughts where my mind spirals into when I am in that paranoid kind of state. So I was just no, let's just go. We went before, nothing bad happened, let's just go. And the whole drive there, Leo's crying, and he loves being in the car, so it was very untypical for him to be acting like that, especially knowing that he was going to go for a WLK. And as we were driving, there was another park that was closer. I passed by, and part of me thought maybe we should just go to that park instead. But no, I kept going because I was just there's nothing to be afraid of. I already know what it is. I knew it was coming from my paranoid thoughts. So we went to the park, and we get there, we're the only ones there, and it's kind of a park in the middle of a neighborhood, and it's not a suburban neighborhood, it's a farm neighborhood. So there's people living there in their farmhouses, but they're more spread out. And there's a tiny parking lot that begins at the start of the trail. And once we get there, he's chill now. I got his leash with me on hand, and then we went into the trail. And it was interesting because I was still having those thoughts, those fearful thoughts. And I was walking into the woods, and I was in my heart telling the trees, I trust you, you've got me. We walked for maybe 5 minutes down the trail, and the last time we walked for a good 30-40 minutes. But 5 minutes in, I was really feeling the antsiness. On the outside, I was cool, but on the inside, I was just having all these visions. I wasn't present with where I was. So literally, there was a tree to my right, and I hugged it and I whispered to it. I was just telling it to help me not be afraid of what lies ahead. And I meant that in a symbolic kind of way, what lies ahead on the trail, and also what lies ahead in the future of all things. Because when you're paranoid, it's just because you're afraid of the future. So I was really just wanting to get grounded in that moment. And I was hugging the tree, just holding on to it. I felt so safe just for a moment. And Leo, he kicked his feet and growled at something in the distance. And I looked up, and I told you before, it's all brown, all gray, the leaves are gone. I saw a feathery white tail just in the distance disappear behind the trees. And it reminded me of like a Samoyed tale. So immediately I was like, okay, you know, Leo's reactive. Let me just leash him up and let's walk out of here, because if that's a dog, I just don't want any trouble. And I walked out of the woods calmly, because in my mind at that point I was like, it's a dog. But as I was walking out, I was like trying to like look back and see if I would see the dog again, but I didn't. And I didn't hear any footsteps. I didn't hear like an owner. Maybe it was like a lost dog from the people who lived in that area, but I didn't see it again. And Leo was just kind of like pulling me out of the woods, like he didn't want to be in the woods anymore. And as I was driving back to the Airbnb, I was like on my ChatGPT talking about this, because I was like, what could have that been? What could have that been if it wasn't a dog, you know? And what I am a believer of is that it could have been the actual woodland spirits manifesting in reality. It could have been my higher self or my spirit guides manifesting in reality. Because here's the thing, because I was already in a fearful, paranoid kind of state that day, being in the woods, walking alone in the woods, it was making it worse. And I was pushing myself to just keep going, because I was like, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's literally nothing to be afraid of. But I didn't honor myself in that moment. I didn't honor myself, how I was feeling in that moment. And I kept pushing myself until there had to be some kind of divine intervention to get me to leave those woods. But it wasn't like in a panicky way. Like I told you, I left calmly. And I do believe it was divine protection, not from someone trying to murder me, but I think it was divine protection from myself. Because if I had walked deeper into those woods, it was around sunset time too. If I would walk deeper into those woods and the sun went down, I would have been fucking paranoid. I probably would have just been like, you know that scene in Snow White where she's like running through the woods and all the trees are like grabbing her clothes and stuff? That's probably what I would have like imagined in my head. But yeah, I went back home, or back to the Airbnb, just feeling really, really at peace and really, really mystified, because I was thinking like, I'm pretty sure I saw a spirit. I don't know who that spirit belonged to, whether it was the earth or some expression of me, but you know, in the grand scheme of things, we're all connected. And I was thinking like, you know what? I don't mind seeing fairies or woodland spirits, or even like manifestations of myself and my guides. I don't mind seeing those things. And I was even thinking like, people who see ghosts and demons and stuff and like just darker entities around them or around in their reality, I realized that that's a choice. People can choose what they see or what they don't want to see. And you could choose to not see it altogether. That's what I feel like the state that most people do live in. But if you're open to like mysticism and a higher power and stuff, when you do see these things that are like inexplainable but you just feel it, it's either you welcome it or your brain goes into overdrive trying to figure it out. So yeah, just wanted to share that story with me and Leo. One more thing I want to add is that dogs are super, super intuitive. Because he clocked something too. He clocked something amiss in the energy field. And that's not the first time he's done that. It's usually been more with like people and their intentions and stuff like that, which now I just thought of another story that I want to tell. But yeah, it's interesting navigating the world with my soul doggy, because whatever I see, whatever I feel, he feels it too. So it's super validating too. Helped me connect more with my intuition and trust in my surroundings, just because I know that he's got me too. So yeah, that is the end of that story. Hope you enjoyed, and I would be curious to know if you've experienced something like this too. Thanks for watching.